Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going deep into one of the most shocking, symbolic and consequential events of the Russia-Ukraine war. An event that didn't unfold on the battlefield, didn't target soldiers in the trenches, but instead struck directly at the glittering heart of Moscow's skyline. I'm talking about the Ukrainian drone strike that hit Moscow's $1.8 billion business Skyscrapers. These towers were not just buildings, they were symbols. They were monuments to wealth, modernity, and the image of a Russia that wanted to stand shoulder to shoulder with the great financial districts of the world. And then, in a matter of minutes, drones turned that symbol of power into a symbol of fragility. This wasn't just about shattered glass and cracked facades. This was about what the strike represented: vulnerability, innovation, asymmetry, and the rewriting of the rules of modern warfare. Over the course of this breakdown, we'll go layer by layer. We'll explore the physical destruction, the financial fallout, the symbolism of the towers, the performance of the Ukrainian drones, Russia's defensive failure, the psychological shock to Muscovites and the elite, and the broader global lessons this event carries for the future of urban warfare. The towers before the strike. Let's start with what exactly was hit. The Moscow International Business Center, often referred to simply as Moscow City, is one of Russia's crown jewels. Rising high into the skyline with gleaming glass exteriors, these towers represented Russia's attempt to showcase itself as modern, global, and unstoppable. Built at enormous expense, with a collective value of around $1.8 billion, they house banks, corporate offices, and luxury spaces for Russia's wealthiest and most powerful. They were designed to be untouchable, far removed from the war front, deep inside the capital, and surrounded by Russia's most advanced air defense systems. For years, Muscovites believed these skyscrapers were safe, a fortress of business and prosperity, immune to the chaos unfolding hundreds of kilometers away in Ukraine. The very sight of them against Moscow's horizon was supposed to reassure citizens and elites alike that Moscow remained secure, modern, and unchallenged. And then came the drones. The strike itself. On that night, everything changed. Ukrainian drones pierced through Russia's layers of defense and struck the financial towers head-on. Glass walls shattered like fragile shells. Smoke poured into the skyline, visible for miles across the city. Office furniture, once arranged neatly for high-powered meetings, was torn apart by shockwaves. And within minutes, Moscow's pride, the $1.8 billion skyscrapers that symbolized modern Russia, was scarred. Pedestrians captured the aftermath on their phones. Videos of smoke, broken windows, and emergency sirens spread like wildfire across social media. Within hours, those images were on screens around the globe. And what they showed was not just a damaged building, but the crumbling of an illusion, the illusion that Moscow was untouchable. Inside the towers, chaos unfolds. Inside the skyscrapers, the scenes were surreal. Workers and executives who moments earlier were focused on financial deals, presentations, and corporate meetings suddenly found themselves scrambling for safety. Emergency alarms blared. Shards of glass littered the floors. The modern interiors, designed to impress clients and investors, were reduced to chaos. Though the drones did not bring the buildings down, they brought life inside them to a halt. Tenants were evacuated, offices shut down, and for many, the realization hit like a second shockwave. If billion-dollar skyscrapers in the center of Moscow can be struck, then nowhere in the city is truly safe. The drones. Cheap but deadly. Now let's focus on the drones themselves, because this is where the story takes on a whole new dimension. These were not fighter jets worth tens of millions. They were not heavy missiles launched from warships. They were small, unmanned aerial vehicles. Cheap compared to Russia's expensive defenses, but devastatingly effective. Ukraine has been refining its drone program throughout this war. What started as improvised drones used on the battlefield has grown into a full-fledged capability, with UAVs capable of traveling hundreds of kilometers, carrying explosive payloads, and striking with surgical precision. That these drones could slip past Russia's Panzer systems, past S-400 batteries, and hit one of the most prestigious business landmarks in the country is nothing short of extraordinary. The cost-to-impact ratio is staggering. For a few $1,000s worth of drones, Ukraine inflicted millions in damage. But beyond the dollar amount, they created international headlines, sowed fear among the Russian elite, and sent a psychological message that reverberated far louder than the physical blast. This is the power of asymmetric warfare, Russia's defensive failure. And this brings us to Russia's defenses, or rather, their failure. For years, Russia has poured billions into advanced anti-aircraft and missile defense systems. The S-400, in particular, has been marketed as one of the most advanced air defense platforms in the world. Moscow was supposed to be shielded by a protective dome, impenetrable to outside attack, yet a small drone, built for a fraction of the cost, slipped through and hit the very heart of the capital. This raises deeply uncomfortable questions for Russia's military planners. If billion-dollar defense systems cannot stop a drone from hitting billion-dollar skyscrapers, what good are they? How much money, how much technology, and how many resources will it take to plug this gap? And can it ever truly be done? The emergency response. After the strike, Moscow's emergency systems swung into action. Firefighters raced to the scene. Police secured the district. Medical teams treated injuries and cleared the area. Roads were blocked off, creating chaos in the financial center of the capital. In many ways, the emergency response worked. Casualties were limited, fires were contained, and order was restored. But the strike exposed the limits of urban safety systems. Skyscrapers are designed to withstand fires, earthquakes, even accidents. But not drones armed with explosives. The entire incident sparked conversations about whether cities like Moscow, London, New York, and others will now need to rethink how skyscrapers are secured in an age where drones can strike silently and with precision. The symbolism, more than broken glass. Here's where we get to the heart of the matter. The real damage was not to steel and glass, but to psychology and symbolism. These skyscrapers were not military installations. They were business hubs, filled with banks, offices, and global corporations. By hitting them, Ukraine sent a clear and calculated message. Wealth and influence do not guarantee safety. For ordinary Muscovites, the strike revealed a new vulnerability. For the Russian elite, it shattered the illusion that their wealth insulated them from the war. For the international community, it demonstrated Ukraine's reach and innovation, and undermined Russia's narrative of invulnerability. This is why the images of the smoking towers spread so quickly, not because of the physical damage, but because of what it represented, that even the wealthiest, most defended city in Russia could be pierced. The financial fallout. Now let's talk about the money. These skyscrapers are valued at around $1.8 billion. The construction cost, the value of the businesses inside, the prestige of hosting international firms, all of it adds up to a massive economic ecosystem. The physical repairs themselves will run into the millions, replacing glass facades, repairing offices, and securing damaged floors. But the larger cost is confidence. Some businesses may now question whether Moscow is a safe place to operate. International investors may think twice before committing money to a city where drones can bypass defenses and hit billion-dollar towers. Insurance companies will raise premiums, and the Russian elite, already under pressure from sanctions and war costs, will feel another layer of instability. Once again, the cost-to-impact imbalance is stunning. Ukraine spent a fraction of that amount on drones, and in return caused financial disruptions, psychological damage, and international embarrassment worth far more. Lessons for modern warfare. So what does this tell us about the future of war? It tells us that the battlefield is no longer confined to tanks, trenches, and front lines. It extends into cities, skylines, and symbols of national pride. A drone strike on a skyscraper is not just destruction, it is a statement. In the past, capitals were considered safe unless invaded by armies. Today, distance means nothing. A target hundreds of kilometers away can be hit, damaged, and turned into a global news story with a single drone. This is the new reality of 21st century warfare. For Ukraine, this was about proving capability, resilience, and creativity. For Russia, it was about confronting vulnerabilities. For the world, it was a reminder that technology is rewriting the rules of conflict. The psychological shift. Perhaps the most lasting impact is psychological. Russians who once believed Moscow was untouchable must now live with uncertainty. The wealthy elite who invested in glass towers as symbols of security must now face the reality that those towers are fragile. For Ukrainians, this was a morale boost. Proof that even against one of the strongest militaries in the world, they could hit deep into its capital. For the international community, it reinforced the idea that Ukraine is not only fighting, but innovating, and that supporting them may be crucial in shaping the future of warfare. The global ripple effects. And this isn't just about Moscow. Cities worldwide are watching this event closely. Financial hubs, airports, government buildings, all are potential targets in the new drone era. Insurance companies, urban planners, and national security agencies will now study the Moscow strike as a case study in what happens when urban centers are exposed to modern drone warfare. The ripple effects could change how cities are designed, how skyscrapers are secured, and how wars are fought for decades to come.